Yeah, I'll always be a metalhead. Nothing can take that away from me.
Right.
I mean, not jail, not people, not religion, not anything. I'll always be a metalhead. Metalhead leads you all life.
You're listening to the Great Metal Debate Podcast.
Welcome to the Great Metal Debate Podcast. This is Robert, a.k.a. Golem Metallicus, back with another metal album review. I love folk metal, and in my opinion, the best of it comes from Eastern Europe, including and especially Russia. We can go through the lengthy roster of outstanding Russian folk metal bands: Arkona, Alkonost, Grai, Woodscream, Anaboiz, the list goes on. One of the true pioneers and legends of Russian folk metal are certainly Kalevala, who've been tearing it up out of Moscow since 2007. Kalevala have a new album released this year, the seventh full-length of their career, entitled Pляска Святого Вита. As is typical of releases that excite me, I can't help but go through this one track by track to share my thoughts. The opening song, Gori polной, begins softly but quickly ramps up the pressure, especially when the accordion kicks in. All elements work together perfectly on this one: uptempo, aggressive, joyous, and folky. Singer Ksenia Markevich is right in her comfort range here, thundering away with her clear, strong, and beautiful voice, well executed all around, and with an awesome chorus that I can't help but sing with and bang my head to. Gori polной! The pace comes down just a notch on the second song and title track, Pляска Святого Вита. The keys set the mood on this one, while the guitars and folk instruments provide a great building mountain of metal riffs atop. Ksenia's vocals are a bit more tempered here, but even more mesmerizing. This one I can see played live and the crowd jumping along in time to the jaunty beat. The main melody is incredibly catchy. 2 listens and you won't be able to rid it from your head. Lovets Me, the first single and video from the album, is a mid-paced rocker that gets soft on the verse and still fairly light in the chorus. Probably the most AOR-friendly track on the album. It's not a bad song by any stretch, but a bit cutesy in the execution for my taste. Next up is Prosnis Vome Zve. This is the best of Ksenia's voice, slightly creepy, haunting in the verses and impassioned on the chorus. Great riffs from guitarist Nikita Andrianov, and another cool vocal medley from Ksenia. The violins pair perfectly with the guitar throughout this one. It might be my favorite track on the album. The keys come back strong in Izmeniam Lesa, really raising the sonic floor and creating a quite uplifting, mythic feel throughout. Kalevala are very skilled when it comes to songcraft, and I can't give them enough respect for the effort they make in composing these tracks. The instrumentals often falling out to give space for Ksenia's vocals, and I think one thing even Kalevala's harshest critics would admit is that they are able to keep plenty of variety and freshness in their song composition, even while adhering to a fairly constrained stylistic approach. At times the tracks seem linear, but on consideration there's plenty of musical tricks and moves they take to make each song original and different. Track 6, Bezmozniki, relies more heavily on blunt guitar riffs to drive the song, although there's plenty of starts and stops to freshen things up along the way. Bezmozniki is followed by the pristine rocker Stodnie. Ksenia does a great job changing the projection of her voice to perfectly emote alongside the guitar and Garmin. Speaking of, that accordion solo is a real highlight on this one. The next song, Tak Dolga Zhat, does a fine job of building the energy, a very nuanced, considered approach to the instruments, punctuated by energized bursts of guitar and featuring another brilliant accordion lead break. A bit more of an epic feel to this one as compared to the approach on most other tracks on the album. On Beshkosvaya Lisa, the strummy ukulele intro sets the stage for an upbeat, bouncy melody. This one alternates between some light touches and shading and more aggressive elements. The 10th and final track, Stostry Boga, brings those folk instruments, particularly the violin, back to front and center, allowing them to lead the way while the guitars churn beneath. This is an upbeat rocker that provides a worthy outro. This band have definitely stood the test of time, and their latest offering is a perfect example of how they've done so. The whole is always greater than the sum of the parts, and although they are each obviously amazing musicians, there's not any sense they're ever showing off just to demonstrate chops. Kalevala have an impressive balance of catchiness and atmosphere to their work. The overall mood on this album is bright and powerful, upbeat and exciting. All the tracks come in between the 3.5 to 4.5 minute mark, and if anything, I could have stood to hear a bit more on some. In summary, I'm giving this album a rating of 9.5 out of 10. This is absolutely my favorite metal release to date this year, and a near lock for a spot on my list of best albums of 2023. I urge fans of bands such as Fintroll, Ensiferum, and Helvete to give this album and band a listen. You can get Pляска Святого Вита digitally via Apple Music and iTunes, and most of Kalevala's back discography is available from Bandcamp.com.